So I've been loving seeing your, sorry, my dog just came in. I've been loving seeing your vision boards, the beliefs that you've had that no longer serve you, you really stepping into your power. So I really appreciate you doing the homework, and I hope that you are really feeling it. Sounds like from the feedback that you are really feeling more abundant, feeling, more powerful, and letting yourself think bigger and creating that big vision that you really want for yourself. That's, we know, is possible. Anything's possible. So I've just been having a great time. So I'm gonna just check on Facebook to see that we're here and we're live. Yes, it looks like we are live. Perfect. Good morning, Grand Rising. Hey, B. Oh, so good to see you guys here. Awesome. So make sure you get your workbooks for today so we can go over removing the blocks to our abundance. That is our birthright, right? Okay, so what I want you to do is first we have to think of what are the blocks that we're having, and then we can really start to remove them. And then I want to go into what that root cause of like guilt and fear and shame and that unworthiness really comes from a spiritual sense, that the way that I've learned it. But before we do that, let's kind of look and see if we have the blocks and what's blocking us. So think about, so once you have your notebook in front of you, the very first question, it says, think about your big goal right now and feel it in your body as already accomplished. How does that feel? Is it a little uncomfortable? Is there a disconnect with that goal? So what I mean by this is, so say someone were to just give you maybe $100,000 and just give it to you. Would you like freak out first of all, like, oh my gosh, why do I have this? Like, or would you kind of be like smile and say, ah, that's awesome? And of course we want to say it feels awesome, but like really think about it. Cause like sometimes you get a message or you get something in the mail and it kind of like feels off, like that's not right. Maybe 100,000, a big check to get. So just anything, think about like even your big goal and it's like, oh, I'm going to speak on stage in front of, hundreds of people, thousands of people. Like, how does that feel? Does it make you feel nervous, blocked, scared? So that's how you know if there's a resistance there. And so with that, then you can really see what's blocking you. And so when you get to really live fearlessly, so yesterday we talked about living without fear is life's chief aim, from the Freedom from Fear book. And I really believe that. And so the reason, so I was just going into studying Course in Miracles this morning, as we get into the talks about blocks and what's really blocking us. So really, from a Course in Miracles standpoint, the blocks that we have are based on the unconscious guilt that is in our subconscious mind. So when we split from, so it's saying, the reason that we created this whole separate world from the oneness of God is because, first of all, we decided, like, what would it be like if I went off on my own and, did this whole life thing all by myself? And then it became a really scary thought. And then a thought that, oh my gosh, what have I done? So that's kind of like where they say the sin is original sin. It's just like that wanting to be or feeling separate from God, which is impossible. You really can't be separate from God, but we can think that we are. And then we have all this unconscious guilt and fear that we've done something wrong. And so that's kind of like the Course in Miracles version of like why we feel so guilty and have all this fear, guilt, and shame and blame. And so if you guys have read A Course in Miracles, then you'll know that. But that's why it's so important to not feel guilty about anything and really looking into your past. So in the day one, when we were talking about understanding the self and mind, understanding that we're not guilty and that we haven't done anything, because that's what can block us. And then a lot of times, so that's like the spiritual big grand, answer. But then just from like a life answer, realizing like our parents and our mentors and our teachers, they might have told us, I know, like I was very quiet. I didn't talk a lot. And when I did, I would mumble and a lot of people couldn't hear me. I was like, from when I was bullying, that during that time, I just didn't talk a lot. And when I did talk, it was very quiet or mumbled. So, people said I should, I'm not going to do excelling at speaking, which I'm still not perfect, but I show up imperfectly because I'm not making it about me. I'm just making it about what I can do in the world and what impact I can make. But when you look back at those beliefs, then you see why you're acting the way you do. So really forgiving that. So a lot of the removing the blocks is going to be about forgiveness and forgiving those past memories, those teachers, mentors, and that sometimes they're doing it for good. I know, like my dad now, like he's like, you can be, he's just retired a couple weeks ago. So he's like, yeah, you can work somewhere for 30 years, get a great retirement, and then like be set. And I'm like, that's so not the life I want. But that's kind of like what he like wants for me. And he's saying that's what needs to be possible. And he's doing it because he loves me, not because he doesn't want me to go after my dreams or, so it's like they're doing it and really coming from why are they saying it and doing it? It's really from a place of love or just, the naiveness where they don't really know what's possible. And the whole playing into that pattern and paradigm that we were kind of talking about the other day. So that was kind of the question number 2 is going back to that very first time you remember feeling the feeling that the block came. So maybe you have a big goal of being visible and having a best-selling book, which means you really need to become best-selling speaker to do the book tour. Because the writing the book is just the first battle. Then getting the book out there is the whole second part of it. So so you really, once that disconnect, really thinking back, going to that time. A lot of times it's from when you're like 6 to 12 years old. There was a time where someone told you something, or you heard something or believed something about yourself, and that's blocking you. So I do like theta energy healing. And so we'll kind of just get connected, put our feet on the ground, get really rooted and connected into the ground, and then feeling the energy of the earth, of Mother Nature, the just creator, that all that is, all that energy flowing through us into our different chakras and then out through our crown chakra. And then what happens is sometimes you'll see blocks, or I'll feel the blocks as the theta healer instructor. You can kind of see where there's blocks in you. So what we do is we do this muscle testing. You can do it with your hands. You could stand up and do it, and you'll get a yes and you'll lean forward, or you'll get a no and you'll lean backwards. Some people use pendulums. It's all just kind of showing where your beliefs are, because they're stored in our bodies. So that's what's so interesting about this muscle testing is those beliefs we have. It's like, there's this book that The Body Keeps the Score that my mom loved. I haven't read it yet, but I definitely want to, because it's saying that all of this is stored in our body. So it's so important to have some kind of outlet, first understanding it, and then forgiving it, doing that kind of work, but then also really like integrating that in your body. So doing creative exercise that kind of like releases the stress and all the endorphins as well. So hi everyone, who's here? I see that they're we've got people watching. Let me turn this down. Oh, we got Giselle, Heather from the UK. Awesome, so good to see you here. So that book changed my life. Oh my God, I can't wait to read that book. Yeah, Griselle, you had mentioned it, and I think that's what sparked it again. I definitely want to check out that book, because our trauma is stored in our bodies, which it's just so interesting. So I definitely want to read that book. Griselle, yeah, thanks for sharing that. And anything you want to share on that book too, I think, it'd be great to like get people excited about it, because it's very interesting. All right. So also I want to hear, so what is blocking you? Is anything coming up for you when you think of your big goal and why you can't accomplish it? What's coming up for you? Like, oh, because something, like I want to do that, but so I would love to know those. And when you share, declare, and then you can disempower that thought or that belief. So then you're not letting it have a hold on you. So expressing it and letting it out is hugely important. So I would love for you to put it in the comments, and just get it out of your system, know that you're not alone. We all have blocks. And there's always, a new level, and then you're going to have a new block. So it's just like a constant, like removing the blocks. So yeah. So think of that time when it's usually 6 to 12 years old is kind of when you got that belief instilled in you. And then how we're living on these paradigms, you just replayed it without ever having to like heal it, dissect it, forgive it, and then get to move past it. So, all right. So so who do you need to forgive? So write down, who do you need to forgive in your workbooks? You don't have to write this out for the whole world, at least for our Facebook community. So who do you need to forgive? Is it your ex-partners, your old bosses or colleagues, your parents, and definitely yourself? Because a lot of times we feel so guilty that we put up with something. I know yesterday I was talking about how I had an abusive ex-boyfriend from college, not from high school. I said high school, but it's really from college. And I had to forgive myself, because I was like, why would I put myself through something like that? Like, then it's kind of embarrassing to even talk about sometimes. So now I don't feel embarrassed. I know everyone goes through stuff, but it's like, like, why would I do that to myself? But I've forgiven myself now. And, I realized I just wanted to be loved. My dad was gone a lot. He was like working all the time to try to give us an amazing life, which like, as a kid, you just want your dad around. So I knew I had to like really forgive that part of me that was like hanging on to a boyfriend that was not good for me. But I know, I just wanted to be loved. And so, like that's kind of where it comes from. So that's that, that child who felt alone. Like when I needed my dad around for the bullying, he was working all the time, not knowing that, he was just doing the best he could with what he had. His dad said, you need to be the provider. So it's like, you get it after you kind of like dissect and learn about it. All right. And then, so who do you need to be to become, to live an abundant life? So we'll dive into that in a little bit. I want to still dive more into the blocks that are blocking us, and then what blocks are coming up for you. I'd love to hear what your what your blocks are. So share, declare, and then disempower that. Okay, so the whole point of removing blocks is to become fearless, like I had mentioned. So we get to choose again at all times. We get to choose again. We get to return back so from that fear-based thought, we get to go into a loving thought and seeing through the eyes of, Holy Spirit, God, Christ, divine love, however you want to see it. There's really no name for it, no image for it, but, in our world of space and form and time, it just helps to have some kind of context to go off of. So what I really wanted to talk about, so we've been talking a lot about spirituality, because that for me, that is the foundation. So I really appreciate that you guys are here with me on that and understand that. I feel like we all kind of have that spiritual sense and understand that that's where our abundance comes from, is knowing that we are really connected. So when you really know that you are connected and given the whole kingdom and abundance our birthright, you have to really remove the idea that lack is even possible. So we really talked about this yesterday, but just how important our thinking was and tuning in. So when you realize, so in A Course in Miracles, it says, I kind of want to read it. But yeah, in the very beginning, it just says like only love is real, only God is real, anything else doesn't exist. Something along those lines. And so it doesn't even exist. Anything like negative, faulty, lacking is not even real. It's just a thought concept in our mind. So we get to choose again, constantly choose again, and ask, help me see this differently. That's another thing in Course in Miracles that they say. All right, I got another comment here. I want to read your comments and see what is stopping you and blocking you. Okay, so we have a fear of success, expecting support and encouragement from loved ones, expecting from others to love and pour into me like I do them. That's so good. I feel like so much of us, we feel that. Yeah, Heather says, I get this. Yeah, thank you for supporting each other. It's so important and so true. And you know why we have the fear of success too, is because there's this Marianne Williamson quote. It says, it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Because like we're told to like play small, and then like our ego wants to like make sure we stay alive and small. So that fear. So have you guys heard the quote by Marianne Williamson? If you have, let me know. But it says, so it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightened us. And it's like, who am I to be powerful, fabulous? And it's like, actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. You're playing small, does not serve the world. Doesn't mean that it's not scary or not challenging. And the thing is, it's always going to be, because it's just kind of not supernatural for us to show up. Because I think back in the days, like in the caveman days, like you didn't want to be seen, right? Like, because then you could get attacked by a predator. So it's like that's like the stuff that's like in our DNA that we have to unpack and get rid of. Like we don't need those fears in us anymore. It served us when we were, in those caveman eras where it was not okay to be safe, or maybe as a woman with all men, you don't want to like show yourself or be sexy, but now it's okay. Like we can set these boundaries, and we can show up as a beautiful feminine woman, and that's okay. So I think, yeah, it's just really unpacking it, seeing the truth of that belief, and then ask to see things differently. So ask God, source, universe, like, help me to see this differently. I'm willing to see things differently. And the thing is, because we have free will, we get to choose how we want to see things. We get to choose how we show up. We get to choose what we believe and what we want to create. So know that anything unloving is not even real. Anything lacking is not even real, because we have everything. And when you know that, you come from a place of that. So it's weird because it's like you can either have faith in fear or faith in the abundance, right? So, and whatever you give faith to, when you worry, it's like praying for the thing that you don't want, because we get more of what we think about. So just, I would just say as much as possible, as often as possible, just just affirm. So I think we said those big, powerful I am statements the first day. And I loved seeing your homework yesterday. I just want to say, I know Heather, Griselle, you guys made some beautiful, like even more and bigger than I was even thinking, just with all of the I am affirmations, with the beautiful picture of you. So thanks for really like playing full out and doing that, because I really appreciate that. Yeah, it was even more than I was even thinking or expecting. So that was really great. And we're doing this for us. And I believe giving and receiving is the same thing. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is whatever, so it sounds crazy, but it's like whatever you're lacking is what you need to give. So it's like, say you feel like you're lacking love, then you need to give more love. And I know B, you had just mentioned, so expecting support and encouragement from loved ones and expecting others to pour into me like I do them. So like I was saying, you have to really fill up your own cup and then give from your overflow, because that's what happens is when they don't give to us, then we feel resentment. And like if we're not getting the same thing back. But if you come from your overflow and you're so filled up and you're giving, you're not going to worry about getting back, because I'm full, I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm so loved. I don't need your love to feel loved. I don't need your love to complete me. I don't need your love to feel abundant and everything. You just fill up your own cup. And so many times, and I've been guilty of this too, that we give and we give, and then we don't give enough to ourselves. So I've totally been guilty of this. I was actually on a Course in Miracles like community call, and one of the ladies, she was talking about, this is like, and this is like so real, and it's just talking about like a chicken soup example. And what happened was, so there was some like 5-day-old chicken soup in the fridge, and she's like, oh, it really should get eaten, but it was like 5 days old. And so and then there's also like a piece of steak that was like 3 days old, and then some salmon that was like cooked the night before. But she was like, no, I'm going to save the good stuff for my family, and I'm going to eat the old ass chicken soup, right? And then she heated it up and it didn't taste good. And so then she threw it away. And then she's like, oh, I'll try like the steak that was kind of old, but not, so then she cooked it and it was like super rubbery. And then she was thinking, then she was like, let me try the chicken soup again. Like there's still some left, and she seasoned it a little differently and put different things in it. And then it ended up like spilling on her. And she was like, oh my God, I get it. I got the hint, I got the sign. I get to eat the steak, the salmon from last night that's fresh, and I don't need to like give it to someone else. I feel that they deserve it more than I deserve it, which is like such a true example. I feel like I've totally done that, where it's like, oh, like I'll save that for them. And it's like, no, but I want it. So I don't think I've ever felt like that before, but it's like, why am I eating this old ass chicken soup? Like, I don't even want it. And like, so anyways, she said that, and I was like, wow, I feel like I can relate to that so much. And so I just want to share it, because that just like, I was like a block too, where it's like, I don't feel worthy. And I mean, like now I can throw things away and not feel bad about it if it's bad. I mean, I like to save and all the things, but it's like, I'm not going to do it at the expense of like, I'm not going to be happy or whatever. Oh, B, do you feel me on that? Yeah, right. It's so crazy. I feel like, especially as women, like we do that. Like, and even with my boyfriend too, like I'll give him like, I think Dave Chappelle had this thing about like the big chicken, like the man should get the big chicken because he's been working all day. And so it's just like, no, like if I want the big chicken, I get the big chicken. Like, just like, but feeling worthy to get that. So anyways, I just thought it was like really interesting. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's definitely a block where you're like, no, I deserve the best. Like, I don't need to go to the sale rack to get things. I don't need to like go for the old food when I want the good food. Maybe I want the crab sandwich that costs more than like the shrimp pasta or whatever. Like, like go for it and get it. So I thought that was really interesting. What is Heather saying? I'm the eldest of 4 born close together and was quickly pushed out for the next child. Yeah, I became a people pleaser to get noticed, but didn't receive any love or support growing up. Always considered myself a second, third, or fourth best. Oh my gosh, this moved into adult life. Not good enough or pretty enough, etc. Only realizing now at 40. Yeah, that's so true. I think there's like that middle child syndrome too, where you're just like feel like you don't really matter, and then you want to make people happy, to like you, to feel acceptance. I like, thank you so much for sharing. I know it's not easy to like share these things, because you're like, I don't want to admit that was me. I don't even want to admit that that happened to me. So yeah, it's really hard, but so empowering when you can share it and know you're not alone, you're not going through this by yourself. But it's like, I don't need to be a people pleaser. I can do what works for me because I want to. And if anyone else doesn't agree with it, then they don't need to be in my life. And so when you feel worthy enough and know that you have so much power, you deserve a seat at the table, then it's like you don't have to try to please people. Like, please yourself. And if they can't get on board, then like, see ya. Like, they don't need to be like in your energy, in your vortex. So yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. I'm happy to see you moving forward. Me too. All right, well, thanks for being so engaging. I just love like the interaction and being able to talk. So yeah, so thank you, Heather, for sharing your blocks. Yeah, be yourself. If you guys have any of those blocks that you feel are in your way now, like, I really want to like help talk through that, work through that. I want you to share, declare, and disempower that. Like, I don't need to be that person anymore. And then turning back to that powerful, abundant creator that you are. So that's what I wanted to say here. So I just have a couple more things to say before we move on to our next question of who we need to be to actually like live that abundant life, being that abundant person. So yeah, I'm really curious on what you guys think of in terms of lack, because it's just like so interesting. Like so these little things that we do, just like the chicken soup, but there's really no lack. And so sometimes I think like, yeah, we need to save the chicken soup for, like, I don't know why we even feel like that sometimes, right? Like, but so we do. And then I really just, I want us to always think of abundance. And one of the things I learned from Denise Duffield Thomas, her book, Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. And also it's in, I think it's The Science of Getting Rich. They talk about always having the best that can be had in the moment. And now from that story, it really reminds me, like, yeah, we should have the very best in the moment. And also just like cleaning our space, wearing the best we have, putting our nice perfume on now. I know my mom, like, she was so, I talk a lot about my mom, I feel like, but I love her. And I learned so much, just so much. She, when she passed, she had a bunch of like old vitamins and old fancy like lotions and things that like, and even clothes that she would only wear on a special occasion because she didn't want to like wear them out. It's like, wear them out, like, and then get new ones. So I just think, yeah, that's part of like removing the blocks. Like, no, I deserve the best now. And when you deserve the best now, then that's just how you live and that's how you be. And so you're going to always have the best. If you just, and you can like downsize, like get rid of all the things with holes in it, get rid of all the things that are broken, get rid of all the things. So then it's like you're removing, mentally, of course, the blocks, but then physically the blocks. So anything that doesn't serve you, that's not stepping into your best self, then those can go. Like, you don't have to try to like, oh, I'm going to sew it one day and try to fix it, or, and then anything, just like bring it to Goodwill, Salvation Army. You can donate it. If something's really like ripped up, then throw it away. I know I used to have a problem with throwing things away, kind of for the same reason. I'm like, oh, there's people out there that don't have a lot, and that's probably programming from like my grandparents and my parents. And but it doesn't have to be that way. And I believe that there's enough for everyone all the time. If there was like, there's so many fruit trees and so much fruit that goes like bad every year, like like God is giving us like an abundance of everything. We just really need to learn how to tap into that. So yes, exactly. Yeah, saving your best clothes, right? Yeah, no, like I'm about to go out and get some like new lingeries because I've like had some of the same stuff forever. And I'm like, no, like, I want the best that can be had. I can definitely get some like new fancy undies. So yeah, but just with everything, like old books, like we need to make space. So that's part of removing the blocks. Let's make space for the abundance. I know with my abundance mastermind that I had, I was telling them I was going through like just my Tupperware drawer, but I had so much like free, like old soups from takeout, or just like things like and they were just taking up space, like all these like old things, like just in my like, vortex and they're just like not serving me in my very highest best self. So that's like a good thing to do. I think we should do is kind of like get rid of all the things that no longer serve us in our physical. I'm trying to think of what is the homework for today. So is this the same homework as yesterday? Well, yeah, so what I want to do is, I don't think the homework actually got updated. So yeah, what I want to do is really, I want us to declutter. So I want us to do an inventory of our mind. And I'm definitely gonna write this in the Facebook group because it wasn't updated on our homework sheet here. So yeah, I will definitely have this as the homework is I really want us to declutter anything that's in our mind, any blocks we have in our mind that are not serving us from stepping into our most abundant self. I want you to write like mentally, what are the blocks there, and then make space. So, I'm still holding on to that grudge from an ex-boyfriend. I'm still holding on to when the teacher told me I wasn't good enough to be a speaker. I'm still holding on, and then feel it. So, because anything that we haven't forgiven is a block, because we need to get rid of it so we can make space for all the good. There's so much good to be had and so much love to be received. We really, really need to make space for that. So so let's do an inventory of our mindset, and then do an inventory of even just our physical space. And Margaret, she was part of this challenge as well. I know she's busy for today, but she'll catch the replay. But Margaret, she has this self-care, I think it's like U² course that I had done. And every week we picked a room for an hour that we would declutter. So I would just say today, pick a room, maybe your office. I think I'm going to do that for myself today, is declutter my office. I feel like that's the space that gets just more, just a lot of papers and things are happening. So pick a room that you want to declutter and give yourself half hour, an hour, even if it's just a Tupperware drawer like mine was. So let's remove some of the blocks mentally we have, and then pick a room and discard. Maybe it's your closet. You want to discard old things in your closet, but I really want us to get in the habit of removing anything that no longer serves us, and then making that space for the good. And any holy socks, get rid of them. Anything you haven't worn in, they say 6 months to a year, then get rid of it. If it's just out of season, or if it's winter and it's summer clothes, you can maybe just put it in a box and store it somewhere. But I really want us to have the best that can be had at the moment. And I love Sweetie. I don't know if you guys know Sweetie. I know her songs are kind of crazy and out there. She has that new song, That's My Best Friend. And I love that song, but she's very intelligent. She went to San Diego State, then USC, and she has a bunch of YouTubes. She's a Professor Icy, and she teaches you how to be, just abundant and get a great man, all the things. And one of the things she says is, clearing your space. And I think it's just so powerful. And if you guys, have you read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo? Because that's a game changer. If this topic really interests you about really making space and only keeping things that bring you joy, definitely read that book. That's what you're saying. I'm still holding on to when my mom chose her boyfriend over me. I wasn't having the best day. That moment alone took me to a dark place. It's I totally been there. That was how I felt my dad was with work, or my stepmom at the time. But when you see yourself as whole and complete, then you're not going to respond as lack, oh, it has something to do with me. But really, that's them and their decisions, and doesn't make anything less of me. I think really owning our who we are in our communications and stepping up and saying something. And then a lot of times just knowing it has nothing to do with you. When someone makes those types of decisions. But thanks so much for sharing. I've definitely 1,000,000% felt like that and been there. Okay, so I want to see if there's anything else on removing the blocks before we move on to the next thing is kind of who do you need to be, who would you be without these blocks, and who do you want to be fully? So it's kind of tapping more into the I am. And then I really want us to create that self-image of that abundant, successful person. And then we'll even dive more into that with your vibration, because I was saying, it's just kind of an energetic match. You become a magnet when you are that self-image, and you've made space and cleared out all the bad, then there's, only room for good. And so we'll talk about the vibration tomorrow, but I still want to dive a little bit into that. So I wrote down a couple other things. So you can't have illusions and truth at the same time. You can't have love and fear at the same time. So I want us to constantly, ask, because this stuff isn't always easy. It's easy when you're on an empowerment call and you're I'm going to go for love. But then when you're in the world where, someone's, pushing your buttons, or, just different things happen, it can be more challenging. But I think these tools that we've gone over the last couple of days are really going to help you shift quickly. And you can say this is not personal, or I'm not, this is not how it's going to be. I know Amanda Francis, one of my mentors, she just blows up the energy. She's nope, blow up, rearrange, change. Like, I'm not accepting this to be like this, because we really are in control of our energy and what we give off. Oh, so this is what I wanted to tell you guys. It was so fascinating. So this lady had talked about our wounds. It was on Payday with Ray Ray, the podcast. And it was like, yeah, one of her last ones. I think I might have shared it in the group, but she says, our wounds are calling out for a facilitator, which, like, our wounds that we haven't healed call out for a facilitator in someone. And then they'll act out based on our wounds, which I'm like, what? Like, that just sounded so crazy. But then I look back, like when I was in, like in college with my abusive ex-boyfriend, I was feeling so low and just like wanting love. And so anyways, but I had these wounds. And so then he was like facilitating the wounds that I had, making me not feel worthy of having, so it was just like fascinating. And then now I feel like I'm in such a great relationship. And I mean, who knows, his ex-girlfriends might've been like, oh, he wasn't a good guy. But to me, he's like, he treats me like a queen, and I've never even knew this was possible, but I've healed those wounds and I feel worthy of it and I expect it. So yeah, it's just like such a fascinating concept when I heard that. What do you guys think? Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, let me know if you have any questions at all. We'll get into the last couple questions on our workbook. And then before we do, I actually wanted to let you know, so we do have, I briefly mentioned it, and I'll make a post about it today in our Facebook group, but I do have the Abundance Mastermind coming up in about a week and a half. So if you guys are interested, I do have an application. So it's application only, and we only accept a few people per mastermind group, just so it's small, we all have enough time. So I'm going to put the application in the group. I'll put it in the comment thread here. So if this work sounds really interesting to you and like something you might want to dive deeper into a 6-month mastermind, then I would love to get on a call with you, and we could start working through this. So the mastermind really is, so we do this mindset, deeper work into breakthrough into our most abundant self, and that self-image of who we want to be. And then also it has that business accelerator portion. That was some of the feedback I got from my last masterminds. They really wanted to incorporate more of that. Because the business stuff was, question and answer during each session. We meet every single week. And then I would give them some of the tools I had, but it wasn't like solely like focused on, okay, what's your business, holding you accountable to your business. A couple of them did. So Sonia, she was in it. She's a VA now. She actually helps me with a lot of my work. And what she did is she wanted to create a course. So she's not only just working, but she has some of that passive income. Because we talk a lot about like generational wealth. And now she's creating a course for VAs, so training VAs to do what she does. And now she's in talks with Amy Porterfield, who's like one of these huge marketing people. She used to work for Tony Robbins. She has this podcast, Marketing Made Easy. And so now she's in talks with her to be a funnel. So people that come out of her course, out of Amy's course, going to pair up with a VA. So I was like, oh my God, but that's what happens when you think abundantly. Like, I'm going to go to, like the best person. It's just like so fascinating. So that was her. Another lady, Amber, she's joined us on a couple calls. And her goal for our 6 months was to get a promotion and a raise. She got that in a couple months, realized, actually, I don't even really want a job. I want to be an entrepreneur. Stop that. She got 3 clients doing her spiritual introspective coaching, which is a lot of like, just uncovering the shadows and just stepping into your most authentic self. She's really like, no BS, like, let's go. And so, so her clients love her, and she's starting her program and just hitting all of her goals, exceeding all of her goals. Another lady was a model, and right when she signed up, so this happened when you make space and you believe and you expect abundance. So right when she signed up, she got a really big check from one of the modeling places that she wasn't expecting. Like, she never knows sometimes how much she's going to get or how much the exposure is going to be. So she'll just get continuous checks. She got a really big check right after she signed up. And then one of her goals was to get into Target, but her agency didn't work with Target. So what happened was, she just kept that vision. That's why the life vision. I loved your life vision. Grizel, yours was so perfect. Everyone's was so amazing. I know I told Crystal to change one of the words. There's something about like limitations on there. And I know it was meant to empower you, but our subconscious mind doesn't really know the difference. That's why when you're saying your affirmations, you don't want to say like, I don't want to be unhealthy. Like, because then your subconscious mind sees unhealthy and thinks unhealthy, even though it says, I don't want to be. Or even say like, I want to get out of debt. Then your subconscious mind sees and thinks about debt, and you don't want that. Like, I want overflow of cash in all my accounts. Like, like I want to have so much money I can invest in properties and stocks and not have to work, like, so you want to do the positive affirming affirmations. So she was just visualizing and affirming like, oh, I'm working with Target. And then like, I have like, a Christmas ad, and it's like her whole family in Target in the Christmas ad. It was like, we had just been in the middle of our mastermind. So just like so perfect. And someone from outside that was a representative of Target talked to her agent so she could do an off contract with them. And like, that's what's possible. It's like, just believe it, visualize it, affirm it, know it's done, and it can happen for you. So anyways, yeah, there's the abundance, mindset, becoming the person, and then also the business accelerator too, which I'm going to dive more into, so we can talk more about branding and target market research and getting people on the phone and discovery calls and really serving your audience so that they can feel what it's like to work with you. And if that's a fit for them, then they will work with you, and it's not feeling like slimy or salesy. It's just, you have a purpose and a gift to give that other people need. And so, yeah, so that's Abundance Mastermind. So if you are interested, I'll put the application. You guys can definitely join. Oh, I love that you guys are talking. All right. My ex was a narcissist. Oh God. Yeah. I know. Thanks for being engaging and so supportive. I just love this work. Yeah, he needs a lot of healing. Sometimes I feel sorry for him, but yeah, I'm so glad you've forgiven him. Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, it's nice that you're forgiving, because that it really just frees you and then frees the other person. And really, how we see the world is how we're going to experience it. So, if you really see everyone as like, not knowing better when they do the bad things that they're doing, like, I mean, it's just like their ego gets in the way and they try to, feel like, oh, like I'm doing this because it's like a survival mechanism, or this is a patterned behavior that I learned from the past. And so then, you get to see it through the eyes. So I always say the Holy Spirit, like, just like see it through their eyes, where it's like, in truth, that person, it's either loving or calling out for love. That's how pretty much every person is. So yeah, so I really just want to emphasize, lack doesn't exist in truth. It just does not exist. Like, everything we need, like, it's like we're all here. We all have like water, we have food, we have internet, we're able to be around powerful women. It's like really, we have everything we need. And I want to get to a place where it's like the needs are so obviously taken care of. All of our wants are taken care of. Now we're at the point of overflow where we just get to give back, and it just, be that abundant person that is who we are in our truth. So that's really my goal for everyone. Awesome. Well, cool. Yeah, so we are getting towards the top of the hour. So you guys do have that homework. I noticed we're getting more homeworks done on day 3. I saw some more vision boards coming through. I'll definitely check them out. And if you haven't done day 1 homework, then definitely do that. Yeah, so it sounds like, oh yeah, and then post your pictures if you haven't. And then I'll make a recap board for the homework for day 4, which is really posting about removing the blocks in our mind. And some of you guys have already written it down here, so yeah, you can kind of just use some of that and put it in the homework thread. But yeah, so what's blocking you? Who do you need to forgive? And then what space in your house are you going to clean up? So yeah, if it's your office, if it's your kitchen, if it's your closet, yeah, let's start making space for the abundant. That's our birthright. Removing anything that doesn't serve us in our minds. I mean, honestly, in our lives, our friends, or maybe not friends, if they're your friends, you want to keep them, but maybe like people that are acquaintances that you keep around because, I don't know, maybe you feel like the need to do something like, but you don't keep anything in your life that's not serving you and bettering you. There's no need for guilt, shame, blame, explanation. Even if it's a family member, I mean, of course, don't like just diss your family, but you get to choose how much time you want to spend with them. You get to choose how much energy you want to pour into them. So really being mindful of your space, your time, your energy, and only keeping things around you that's going to uplift you and like raise your vibration, which we'll definitely go more into vibrations tomorrow. But we live in an abundant world. Like, let's just like keep people around us that's going to emphasize that we are abundant, really lift our spirits, raise our vibrations. So yeah, and if the Abundance Mastermind calls to you at all, then definitely apply. I'm going to be doing calls the rest of this week and next week, and then we'll start. So yeah, that was pretty much our session. I really love having you guys around. So it doesn't look like there's any questions here. Please, if you ever have any questions, definitely put them in the Facebook group, because some of the questions I've been getting through Messenger would definitely help everyone. So I would say add any questions you have in the Facebook group. And I'll see you tomorrow and we'll talk about raising a vibration. All right, have a great day. Love you guys. Bye.